This is a demonstration of placement and finishing of a 4-surface MIFL Class 4 composite on tooth number 9. For this demonstration, we have left the rubber dam off because you will have a better visual perspective on the aesthetics. It is imperative to isolate the tooth. Proper isolation for control of fluids minimally includes cotton rolls, cheek expander, isolite, and/or dry shields, and preferably a well-placed rubber dam. In this case, where the preparation ends just below the anticipated proximal contact, the matrix strip easily and appropriately extends below the cavo surface margin where it is secured with the wedge. A tight-fitting wedge keeps the composite from extruding into the area beneath the gingival cavo surface. This prevents overhangs. When the matrix is angled and pulled toward the incisal, excess composite is forced toward the incisal. When the matrix is pulled straight across at a right angle to the long axis of the tooth, a gap is likely to exist between the matrix in the emergence region of the root to the crown, and this gap allows formation of gingival flash and overhangs. When the matrix is tightly adapted at the gingival, that minimizes the flash and overhangs. This is why we pull the matrix towards 1 o'clock, not 3 o'clock. Although not performed in this typodont demonstration, routine etching, rinsing, and bonding protocols are performed prior to placement of the composite. Place the first increment to make full contact with the chemically prepared and bonded surfaces of the tooth. Then place the remainder of the composite, in this case less than 2 millimeters thickness, at one time, not incrementally. Keep the composite compule tip immersed in composite. You never want to lift the syringe up, or you would pull the composite and create a void. You want to wipe the compule tip toward the natural tooth as the composite is injected. Or, if you're placing composite with a plastic instrument, wipe the plastic instrument toward the natural tooth. Do not lift or pat the composite. Patting the composite can pull it away from the tooth or pull it away from the previous composite, producing voids. Make sure you have enough material at the incisal edge and at the corner. Then wrap the cellophane matrix and lightly squeeze the massive composite in the shape of the tooth so as to form some knife-edge margins along the preparation bevels. Hold the matrix steady as the curing light is applied to the portion of the composite that the fingers are not blocking. After the first curing light beep, you can slightly move your finger so that the light covers more of the surface area of the composite. Because we are not bonding to opposing walls, the composite need only be confined within the anticipated contours of the final anatomy and needs to be kept less than 2 millimeters thickness per increment. You may detect the heat of polymerization with your finger. If it gets too hot, pause the cure for a few seconds to allow the heat to dissipate, then resume light curing. Inspect to assure that the bevel of the preparation is covered. Before the band is removed, inspect the inner proximal for voids. Already we see that the gingival contour looks great. That's because we spent time adapting the matrix. Finishing proceeds from gross shaping to detailed shaping and then to polishing. The anticipated final shape and amount of excess direct our choice of finishing instruments to adapt to concavities and convexities over small or broad areas. We may use diamond burrs, sandpaper discs, 12-bladed carbide burrs, abrasive rubber tips, or a number of other tools to accomplish the end result. The rubber dam protects the patient from much of the dust generated during finishing. If the rubber dam is not used, place a large moist gauze behind the restoration to minimize dust going into the patient's airway. For your own protection, wear a face mask and use high-velocity suction to minimize inhaled dust. Water spray also assists in trapping the dust generated. Remove the flash with a new number 12 barred Parker blade. Reduction is needed in the excess incisal composite. In this example, the coarsest sandpaper disc is chosen to shorten and begin shaping of the incisal edge. If you're working without water spray, be cautious not to overheat the tooth. Fine diamond burrs may also accomplish this gross shaping at the incisal. The coarse disc is carefully angled to shape the rounded mesial incisal. The facial surface is shaped with a 7901 12-bladed carbide. With a stable finger rest position for control of the handpiece, use light touch and a sweeping motion to avoid gouging. Change angulation of the 7901 from the flatter facial surfaces to produce the mesial incisal curve and incisal rounding. We can use the tip of a 7901 as an explorer to evaluate margins. Significant excess on the lingual is evaluated with an explorer. We've selected the bullet 12-bladed carbide to shape the lingual concavity. Use sweeping strokes and light contact to shape and to avoid overheating. Be mindful to preserve the mesial marginal ridge shape, which should replicate the patient's natural anatomy of the marginal ridge in relation to the lingual concave surface. Once the shaping is completed, proceed through medium, fine, and ultrafine polishing tools. Polishing involves making a series of finer and finer scratches until the restoration is smooth and shows a high luster. In the proximal, polishing strips can reach where handpiece tools cannot reach. Here, a polishing strip is wrapped over the incisal corner to smooth the already shaped and rounded mesial incisal. It's time to evaluate the restoration. The cavo surface margins are smooth and closed, undetectable with the explorer. The proximal contact is visually closed. It's shaped and placed correctly. There is no fraying of the floss. The composite restores original form of the tooth, looks natural and symmetrical with the other side of the arch. There's a balanced occlusion in maximum intercuspation and in protrusion, and the restoration is smooth and shows a high luster.